Hey everybody, welcome to Trending. Today's Thursday, June 30th. Joe, it's almost July, man.
It is.
Like the year is like halfway over.
It is.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Feeling good about that, or?
It's just hard to believe.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it, but it's just, I think the weather has been so strange, it's hard to grasp what time it is.
Would you say that lately the weather's been so bipolar?
And consequently, so have I.
Man. Yeah.
That was a Reliant K reference for those who don't know.
Right.
So.
That's one so far this episode.
That's the one I'm waiting for.
That's right.
You to be the one I'm waiting for.
Okay, it's like 3 o'clock. It's close to the end of the day. We usually do this first thing in the morning. We had kind of a different schedule today, so we're going to try to crank through today.
Yes.
Kind of a different show today. So actually, we're going to do something a little bit different. I actually just chose one of the trending topics today. We're going to go maybe a little bit deeper on just one thing today.
Okay.
But first, I just have to mention, so at the beginning of the, or end of the year, I guess, last year, we throw out our predictions, right?
Nostradamus.
Crazy things that we thought might happen this year.
Yeah.
And I believe my exact prediction was that there was going to be a Cheeto burrito.
That's right.
At Taco
This
Bell.
rolls off the tongue.
Cheeto burrito. Like
And
they've done all
into the
these,
belly.
They've done Doritos. They've done all kinds of things. So
Right.
I just felt like a Cheeto burrito was it was looming at some point.
That's right.
Hasn't happened yet. Halfway through the year.
Yes.
But this week there was some groundbreaking news.
That's right.
From Taco Bell HQ. Mm-hmm. There's not a Cheeto burrito yet.
Right.
But there is a Cheez-It tostada and a Cheez-It Crunchwrap Supreme. And so the Cheez-It is like, it's giant.
It's like a bunch of Cheez-Its like that haven't been chopped up yet.
It's a giant Cheez-It wrapped in a Crunchwrap. And right now you can only get it, is it Los Angeles or Las Vegas? One of the
Los
Losses.
Angeles.
So we can't try it yet, but as soon as it hits Kansas, I am going to try one.
Yeah,
wait.
it'll be on an episode of Trending. Like we will taste test, give a little shout out. So we're getting closer.
We're one step closer to the Cheeto burrito that I spoke into existence.
We'll
see.
The Cheeto burrito now is what Steven Johnson calls the adjacent possible.
There you go.
Like this thing that happened, the Cheez-It thing this week,
Yes,
is like paving the way.
it's the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness. Somewhere in the multiverse, there is a Cheeto burrito. We just have to wait for it to come to our universe. Okay, so I'm going to throw just one topic at you, Joe.
Okay.
So
Coming in hot.
one of the top things yesterday and today was actually our friend Chris Pratt.
Okay.
Chris Pratt was trending.
Yeah.
So
He likes Trending.
he's an avid watcher of the show. I'm sure he's watching right now. Thanks for watching, Chris.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite actors. He was in Parks and Rec. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel. He's in Jurassic World. He's in the Lego Movie. I think maybe it's spoiler for some people. He's going to be the voice of Mario. They're doing a Mario Brothers movie, and he's the voice of Mario. Yeah. There's rumors that he's involved with the Garfield, the cat movie.
What?
I feel like he's kind of the go-to. He's kind of like the new Will Smith. Like he's the go-to. If you need just someone that everyone's going to mostly like, go with Chris Pratt.
Maybe he'll get to a different end of the trail than Will Smith.
I hope so. On the opposite side of the slap, perhaps. But so most people like Chris Pratt, but he's also gotten a lot of flack in recent years because he's kind of unintentionally become like a poster child for Christianity, which is kind of weird. He's a very outspoken believer. He attends the local church regularly. He's just a good person. He gives a lot of money to charity. He's just kind of become known for that, mainly because years ago he accepted an award at some award show, and he actually gave a little like, whoever you are, God loves you. He kind of went off on this kind of Christian rant, I guess, at an award show, and since then he's kind of become known as like one of the Hollywood Christians.
God is real. God loves you. God wants the best for you. Believe that. I do.
But along with that, he's gotten a lot of flack on Twitter specifically for anytime the church is in the news for whatever, Chris Pratt gets dragged into it.
Okay.
And so I think he's doing his best to say, yes, I'm a Christian, but I don't want you to necessarily tag me along with everything that you hear about Christianity or conservatism or whatever. Or if a pastor does something bad, he keeps getting dragged into the spotlight anytime there's a scandal or anything.
Yeah.
So he is on the cover of, I think it's Men's Health magazine, and that's why he's trending today. And he had a quote. I'm just going to read it. I'll put it up on the screen here.
Okay.
So he said, I didn't know that I would kind of become the face of religion when really I'm not a religious person. I think there's a distinction between being religious, adhering to the customs created by man, oftentimes appropriating the awe reserved for only who I believe is a very real God, and using it to control people, to take money from people, to abuse children, to steal land, to justify hatred, whatever it is. The evil that's in the heart of every single man has glommed onto the back of religion and come along for the ride. So that was the quote that's in the magazine. I've seen a lot of the other magazines. Forbes did an article about it. People did an article about it. So everybody's taken kind of that quote and they're kind of running with that idea.
Okay.
I just want to hear you talk about that, Joe. So for a man who his faith is important to him,
right?
He's in the spotlight because he's very good at what he does, and a lot of people know who he is. He keeps getting dragged in the mud for things that he doesn't necessarily agree with. And I feel like I'm a little bit in that boat. I'm not a celebrity, but I work at a church, you work at a church, and I think in a lot of our circles, I'm known as a Christian. I'm the Christian in the group. And so whenever something controversial or bad happens, I a little bit feel like I have to defend Christianity or myself or whatever. And I feel like there's more and more of us that are just unsure how to handle that.
Okay.
So do you feel that at all? And what are your thoughts when you hear that quote from Chris Pratt?
There's a lot to say there. So I think this could be like a series, not to like say that we should make one, but this there's like several angles. Like as I'm listening to you, I know that you're gonna like pitch it to me. Like I'm like going through. Do you remember like in the Minority Report where they have like that screen
Yes.
and like it was zooming in and like filtering through stuff?
By the way, we need where are those?
I
Apple
know.
make that.
I feel like that should have happened by now.
Me too.
Yeah, like the hoverboard too.
Yes.
You know? So, I guess I would say this: like, there is unfortunately a fine line between religion in public that's for good and religion in public that kind of breaks bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Andy Stanley, I think he kind of succinctly said it this way: like, on Christianity's best day, people look at us and say, wow, look at the power of their love, right? And they see great and wonderful things happen. Extending fire there, binding up the brokenhearted, there for people who are down and out, lavishly giving our resources to the greatest needs in the world. Okay, so that's on our best day. On our worst day, people unfortunately look at us and say, wow, look at their love for power. Okay, and that's usually not a pleasant thing that they're saying. Like, they're not referring to good things.
Right.
And so what can we say? I'd say this. Why do we have religion to begin with? It just didn't appear out of thin air. So there's all these speculations. Like, if you get into history of religion, there's all these different speculations of when did it enter into the human experience and experiment. Okay?
Yep.
I like the way that a philosopher of religion, Robert Bella, he says he believes it came in when groups of people got big enough to where they began to ask, where do we come from, where are we going? And that's where like this genre of play comes in, or playwrights, or acting comes in. And so people would gather together, and somebody who could really articulate the story well began to articulate the origins of the universe, origin of our people, the struggles that we faced, and we've come out the other side, rehearsing the story, and then projecting where we could be in the future. Like, on our best day, like we could do that well. So our best songs, our best preaching, our best ministry, our best organizing of what we do, if it goes to that end, I think there's something wonderful about that, because it calls people together and they say, hey, I want to hear that story again, or tell me that story again, or tell me those bottom lines once again, because it seems to kind of resonate. There's like a hum of the holy in those stories. But whenever like we reframe stuff in the world to make ourselves more important, when we don't tell some of the faults and some of the unfortunate things from our story, when we gloss over, some of the scandals from our story, that's where people feel cheated. So I think that's a bit of it, right? Yeah. And so unfortunately, here's Chris Pratt, like, he has marched out and he said, this religion that I subscribe to, like, it's bind my life together, it's given me purpose. Like, I've become a better person because of it. So anytime, like, something negative happens from that religion, he gets brought back in. It's almost to say, okay, like, explain this, because you're like our one person in our orb that can, kind of give some sort of a frame of reference for this sort of thing. And so he's kind of called in again and again and again. That's actually a good place for him to be if he were to take that on, because perhaps in a familiar way to other people in that orbit, he could be able to articulate why he is so trusted in religion. It probably is exhausting. But I think that that's what happens when you're like the one person out of a group that has like marched out and become different. When it comes to that occasion, like it's your chance to share something. It's kind of like, it's almost similar to what we experience in like our race relationships and strife in our culture. You know, when we're like the one out of the norm of the race in the group, people come to us and say, "Can you explain this further?" And we're glad to do it. And those folks could probably take it upon themselves to learn from themselves. And so sometimes it could be relatively exhausting for the people of color in our life to be called on again and again and again to explain why these things happen again and again. And so I don't know. What I see the church do at times is we tend to, if we find somebody famous who is a Christian, we tend to try to want them to do believing for us. So like Tim Tebow, famous example, right? Did like the John 3:16, the Philippians 4:13 in his eye black, right? And so we set him apart as, this person who's out there like making a difference in the world around us, when really that's all of our mandate, not just Tim Tebow. And so unfortunately what happens is now we make a football player do all the believing for us. Or like if there's an MMA fighter who is a Christian, all of a sudden like they're hauled in to preach at church, and we feel like somehow like a triumphantism because somebody who's in the spotlight out there on magazine covers, like they now represent the church, and now we don't believe ourselves and act out ourselves like they're doing it for us. So that's where it's like misshapen. And so I think if anything, like Chris Pratt should be a lead blocker for us. He is somehow finding a way to negotiate, being in Hollywood, which isn't explicitly Christian, but like holding on to Christianity in the midst of it. Just like any of us have realms in our life that is not explicitly Christian. And we get the chance to be Christian within them. So like the best that we can ask of Chris Pratt is show us how to do this so we can do it ourselves. And I think the reason he would speak in this way, because he's probably relatively exhausted by being called on again and again and again and again. And getting the sense of it's kind of all up to him in this regard, instead of like showing the way so that we can begin to kind of take up that same mantle in our own ways in our own lives. So I don't know, man. Like that's kind of what I would just say without any sort of prep. This is kind of an odd negotiation that we make with Christian celebrities is be like us, but don't be like us at the same time. And don't demand of us what we're demanding of you. It just seems to be an unhealthy commitment that we're asking them to make for us. So,
and I think what he's saying is like, don't put me on a pedestal. I'm a human. Don't like you were saying, like don't over elevate my importance or my holiness or whatever.
Right.
But like you said, if we were to follow his example, what I think he's doing really well is one thing I read a little bit about him today, and whenever he gets tagged on Twitter for something negative or someone tries to rope him in with something else that he's not a part of, what I love is that his co-stars and his directors and his producers come to his defense. And they're like, I have never seen Chris do anything but be a positive influence around the people that he's around. He is known for being extremely kind, extremely hardworking, extremely generous. And so it's almost like if he gets thrown in the mud for something, it'd be easy for the directors and the co-stars to kind of pile on. That'd be easy.
Right, because everybody else is doing it, right?
That'd be the easy thing to do. But it's almost like they say, well, we can't say anything bad about him because he's just a good person. And so I guess that's what I hope maybe I could try to do. Is if I'm going to be known as the Christian in a circle, I hope I live in such a way that they can't say anything bad about me.
That's
you know what I mean? Like if I'm the only Christian they have a real relationship with, I don't want to give them any ammo to add another strike against the church or against Christianity. So I think that's one. If we could learn anything from him, it seems like he's doing a pretty good job at that.
That's right. I think and the way you paraphrased a passage from 1 Peter 2. I mean, Peter's writing to a group of Christians, harassed, probably going through some suffering at some level from the outside world, and he says like live such good lives among them that they kind of are silenced because of, when everything is revealed about how God has always been at work in the world. And so I think that would be one of the greatest compliments in the world, is that if there is a questioning about our intentions about the faith, our motivation about being faithful in public, that people who aren't even just uniquely invested in our faith, but even people outside the faith, but who know us well, they could say, actually, like, this person is something else. To get to know them. Yeah. And I think that would just be a stunning comment and quite an example for us to live by too.
Yeah. I feel like that's hard. Like, obviously this week there's been all the Roe v. Wade, there's more gun stuff. Like, it's been a very big week in American politics. And I feel like the easy thing to do is to hop on Facebook and Twitter and let your opinion fly, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like, I want, we've talked about this before. I want to jump in and say something just to calm the storm, be one person who's at least halfway. Of course, I think I'm reasonable. Everyone thinks they're reasonable too.
Right.
But again, we've talked about this many times, but when are you silent? When do you speak up? But I think if you're not sure, this week might be a really good time to just listen. Don't say a whole lot of anything, but be extremely kind, be extremely loving, and be that one Christian who they can't say anything bad about. Yeah. If Ridgepoint was that kind of place, man, we'd fill up this new building in a heartbeat. If we were known for being, some of those Christians are pretty weird, but those Ridgepoint people, I can't say anything bad about them.
Right, like they're weird, but like they're like irresistible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He's kind of publicly wrestling with something that I think a lot of us are wrestling with. So.
Yeah. The Christian faith is not a private faith. It's a personal faith, but it's never meant to be a private faith. Yeah. There's a quote out there that talks about how, like, Jesus' crucifixion was so public, such a cosmopolitan intersection of the city of Jerusalem, that Pilate's message is in 3 different languages. Just understand there's like 3 different types of subtitles were necessary to like interpret what's going on there. Yeah. I think one of the things that we are accused of, which is probably more true than not, is we tend to have like a subculture that we flow in, and we don't really have to face the public square all that much. Yeah. Like even in like working in public settings, we still find a few of the Christians that are around, and that's just what we tend to do. It's more comfortable. We hate to disagree with people. We don't want that awkwardness or that drama. But the Christian faith does push us out further and further. Yes, stay connected with the Christian community, but also like go make good in the world, because that's precisely what Jesus did. This is where I think our theology is important. So like what I see a lot in American evangelicalism is how substitution becomes a big element, either explicit or implicit. This idea of Jesus did it, I didn't have to. And we kind of carry that in other areas of our life. Well, Jesus was with tax collectors and sinners. Wasn't that good for him? But we're called to, just be among the people of God. Right. This is where Paul comes in, and in his letters, he actually talks about not substitution, but actually like participation. Like Paul says, I want to participate and have fellowship with his sufferings. Yeah. So instead of like a substitutionary theology, Paul actually has a participation theology. So as Christ did, so shall we. Yeah. And so like, Chris Pratt, like famous dude, he's out there and all this stuff. Like, wouldn't we like envy to be him? There's a lot of pressures that we don't know, and it's like, including this. Right. But he seems to be trying his best to winsomely be Christian in a place that may not welcome religion as much as other parts of our world. Yeah. So good for him. Yep. Good on him.
Yep. Yeah, we've been joking. We obviously don't want to elevate him too much, but I do like whenever there's a good positive example. No. I did too.
You said, hey, let's don't lift him up. I lift him up again.
No. It's all good. It's all good.
But do you think that he would have the Cheez-It tostada like the?
You know what? Let's make another prediction. He might be on the tostada commercial. Whenever it goes nationwide, of course, why wouldn't he be on the tostada commercial?
Like after he watches trending, he's gonna call up his agent. Yes, he's gonna call up Taco Bell, and they're gonna make it happen.
Get me the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap. I would love it. I love it.
Nice.
All right, man. Well, that was a good discussion. Thanks for sticking with us, and I need to go edit this so we can get it out today. All right. We got anything else to say?
No, man. Like, we got obviously a holiday weekend coming up. Yeah. But we have great stuff going on here at Ridgepoint, so we hope to see you in worship. If not, check us out online. Yep. And plenty of good things happening. So kids get back from kids camp. Ezra, my youngest, is there having a great time, and so thanks to Cynthia and all the gang hanging out at Tabor with kids camp, showing the Lord to our youngest, and those are gonna have great stories to share when they come back.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. On that note, let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you on Sunday and again next week.
All right.
See ya.
See you later.